trying to get some smart people and telling them to solve the problem for us. That's what I used to do. But with time, I understood that that method did not really work, right?
Coming from India, everyone was a fan of the US education system. Everyone would talk about like these practical aspects of education.
We launched a product in the market, and then yeah, 3 4 months down the line, ChatGPT hit the market. Right, it was way better than what we essentially built.
Are you working on the intersection of AI and Medicare? Hi everyone, welcome again to yet another podcast with Byte Ventures. Here with us we have Manoj. Manoj is a serial entrepreneur. He has founded 3 to 4 companies as of now, but the latest one is CogniMuse. And huge congratulations for you, Manoj, for raising a seed round from Mayank Rajani. And I hope you'll continue to inspire a lot of people. I read your vision and your statement of your company. It really was interesting, and I thought I would reach out to you to have a deeper conversation of what exactly you plan, what motivated it, and all stuff. So, thank you for joining in from your busy schedule. And why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Thank you so much, Sitesh, for inviting me to this beautiful podcast. Right, so I'll just go on to introduce myself. I'm Manoj. I have a degree in biomedical engineering from MIT Manipal. After graduation, I went to Bangalore. I worked for a couple of early stage healthcare startups, building medical devices and biomedical
Hmm.
sensors, especially in the hardware space. And then COVID hit. I came back to my home. Then, while it's in home, the entire hardware space was not at its highest pace, right? So it was kind of slow down. And then I had a lot of time uh, left for me. Right, earlier we were working so hard day and night, and then all of a sudden there was a break for us. Right, it was a good time for us to reflect, think, and plan certain things for the next steps. Right, so and then I picked up this habit of reading books, which I was procrastinating for a long time. As I told earlier, like I was watching more series earlier. Right, you can even finish an entire series in one night, but not even read a 10 pages of book.
Okay.
That was a huge problem for me to sit in one space and complete a book. Right, so I picked up this habit of reading a book. Initially, it was boring, but I completed the one book and then I fell in love with it. Right, I couldn't just stop it. Right, I kept buying books after books and just finishing it. Like I would say, probably in 5 days, I could finish one book. So that was the pace I was going at, highlighting it, scribbling down, right, many things there. And then I came across this problem that I started after a point, right? I started consuming a lot of information. There was no place for me to sit down and reflect on the ideas or the points that I've taken down from the book. It was a big problem for
Okay.
me. And now the knowledge base, whatever I have done, is it's increased tremendously. That there is no way for me to organize those notes and get some insights out of it. Was a big problem for me. I started looking for different solutions at that back then. There were just a note-taking apps that was available where you can put all the thoughts there and not do anything much, right?
Yeah.
Then I met my friends who then become the co-founders of those companies, and they also they were facing the similar problems, right? So we thought like, why can't we build a product like an app where you can take pictures of the important things that you captured from the book
Hmm.
and let the app take care of everything, like introduce AI into it and auto categorize it and give insights from the notes that you have taken, so you don't have to do everything, right? It will do everything for you, right? That was the beginning of the idea. So you can relate this to whatever we are seeing right now in the space of AI, right? Chat GPT, you put all your data inside it, you ask questions, it will give you answers based on that. So this is something we thought in 2020. We tried building it. So back then the technology was not there, so we have to build everything from scratch, right? The ideation was also pretty preliminary, right? We thought like, okay, how does the brain work and how can we connect information like how the brain usually do it, right? And build each things individually from scratch. Right, so that was a problem for us, but we took that as a challenge. It was intellectually challenging for all the co-founders because none of the co-founders are from software background.
Okay.
Right, we didn't know anything about AI. Right, so I was the tech guy since I came from hardware space. But again, right, there is always a correlation between hardware and software. If you know
Yes.
hardware really well, you can do software easily. But when you're shifting your career from one domain, you are already doing a great job here and moving to software engineering or AI just to solve a problem, right? Is it a test for you? Is it a test for you as an entrepreneur? Will you take that huge belief in yourself and then take the plunge? Right. So initially, I was skeptical for the past, I think, 5, 6 months. I didn't do that. Like I was just doing operations, trying to get some smart people and telling them to solve the problem for us. That's what I used to do. But with time, I understood that that method did not really work, right? Because as an entrepreneur, you really believe in the vision. You want to make it work, and the people that you hire, they might not agree with you completely on it, right? And people say like, yes, all the people will believe in your vision, they build all these things, but in reality, I don't think so that really works. And probably 60 to 70 is a good number. After a point, all the co-founders, we sat down. The product was not really going ahead in terms of AI side of things, and then we decided someone has to take AI side of things, and we have to do it, right? And everybody was looking at me, right, because I was the least tech guy. So I took that as a challenge, and I started learning everything from the basics of machine learning, NLP, like what now is like gloriously called as AI. I started learning everything. In 6 months' time, we'll be able to learn everything from scratch and build like a solid MVP. Right, so we launched into the market as an initial mobile application, and then we understood that the people that we are talking about, a very small number of people who do reflection and everything. Then we understood how important it is to make money when you build a product as well. Right, and we are bootstrapped all this while, right? We never
Oh,
raised any
great.
money. So I believe in the philosophy of bootstrapping, inspired by people of Sridhar Vembu and Kamath brothers. Right, so all my co-founders, they also agreed that let's bootstrap the company, get some good traction, and probably think of the next steps. Right, so that's what we have done. We launched the product. It was not well received initially. Then we had to make couple of pivots, and then when we shut down the company, it was a research assistant for long form content writers, because content writers who use our tool to write articles faster, so they make more money, right? So that was a philosophy that we had, hypothesis that we are trying to test, right? We launched a product in the market, and then yeah, 3, 4 months down the line, ChatGPT hit the market. Right, it
Okay.
was way better than what we essentially built, right? So by the time we as the founders, we also lost a lot of motivation. It's been like 2.5 years down the line, right? So we thought like, okay, it's good time that we focus on something else, probably revisit this problem statement later, right? So we parted our ways out, and they're all building their own companies right now in a different space.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
yeah, so that's about Marble. That's about Marble. And then after Marble, I joined another company as a CTO, a crypto-based company in the early stage. Right, it was the stealth mode back then. Right, I
Okay.
joined there as a CTO. I worked for 4 months. He's a stellar CEO guy. He's an amazing guy, visionary guy. Right, so we thought we'll bring some revolution in crypto space is what we thought, and we start building it. But with 4 months down the line, I understood like something was off, right? Not in terms of business, it's just me, right? My heart wanted something else, right? And the crypto space, the philosophy is something I really did not agree back then. So it was creating a lot of resistance for me,
Hmm.
right? I know I can build tech, I know I can solve problems, but what problem I'm trying to solve also started mattering to me after at that point of time. Philosophical differences, if there is any, right? I couldn't solve the problem with whole heart, right? So and then I quit the company, and then I thought like, okay, it's been couple of years, you started working, you just kept on working, right? It's time you take a break, is what I thought. And then since my sister is in Europe, Sweden, so I thought
Okay.
like, okay, let me go visit her for 2, 3 months. Right, I went to Europe. Right, it was a new experience for me, like because it's a whole different. I mean, you would relate to it much better. From India to US, there is a significant shift.
Yeah.
So I went to Europe. I mean, you go and be with family, right? With family, you went to a couple of countries, and after a point, I got so bored. I thought like, okay, probably I need to travel alone. I need to spend some time in this journey, right? So interestingly, when I took up this journey to move to Europe, I had two books with me. One is something called the Tatas by Girish, and then the another one is given by my guru, or like a Western audience, like a mentor. It's about social service, life lessons of Swami Vivekananda. Right, I had two books with me. So I had this book. I kept reading this book in my whole travel across Europe when I was starting solo traveling across different countries. Right. So when you're going solo, there are a lot of things that you can talk to many people. Like you don't have to worry about it. What is the worst thing that could happen? Right? You go talk to them. They'll not respond to you. That's it. So
Yeah.
especially when entrepreneur, you don't really, you're shameless, right? You just want to talk to people, build some network. So spoke to a lot of people. I learned so many things. I tried to understand the landscape of India and how they see India as, right? Most of the people gave good comments about India, especially when in terms of culture. They say like, hey, it's a different culture. I learned so many things. The hospitality
Hmm.
is amazing. At the same time, my intention is to understand what is something that India is lacking at that point of time, right? Because as I told you, on the other side, I was reading Tata's. I was fired up, like to build up huge, massive companies like Tata's. On the other side, you're reading Vivekananda, who's a visionary leader, right back then, in times where you don't even think about all these things, bigger things, right? So I used to ask, and a couple of points started bothering me after a point. Like so a couple of points, I said when I met developers, they said India is good culture, they are nice folks and everything, but when it comes to quality of building a product, it's pathetic, right? That's what they say. Especially I was a perfectionist back then, right? I want everything to be perfect, right? And hearing these kind of comments from people outside India was very hurtful for me, right? And then they also said points like Indians, especially when you work in a project and Indians are the manager, you can understand that you signed up for hell. Right? They're micromanaging, they'll be on your head all the time. Right? So this is another point they put forward. And then a couple of European developers I met, they even told some of the bad things, like uh, some of the project he worked with software development companies from India.
Hmm.
They worked with him for 2 3 months. He paid them, and then after 3 months they ghosted him. It seems, right? And there was a problem in the tech. Instead of telling the European guys that hey, there is a problem, but give me 1 week time, let me figure it out. They just ran away from it. It seems.
Okay.
Right. Spend a lot of time understanding why it is happening in the first place. Then it all goes back to our roots, how our parents try to pressurize you to do something. If you don't do it, there is a punishment for you. Right. And punishment driven, fear driven, like, it's something it's deeply ingrained in us that the same attitude continues even when you become better when you grow higher in your career as well, right? These are the problems they put forward, and it was very eye opening for me, right? So this is in terms of software development about India and everything. On the other side, I was in France one day. It was I think around 11:30 p.m. I went to Eiffel Tower at night because I'm a solo traveler. I was like I want to
Okay.
go there. All these things, right? It was almost the place where I was staying was almost 40 50 kilometers away from this Eiffel Tower, right? So that
Okay.
was my first day in Paris. I went there, and then I checked my phone. The battery is dead, right? You are in the new country, a new city. You don't know how city works. You don't know nothing about it, and your battery dies. Now you need to go back to the place where you are staying, right? I haven't written down the place anywhere down. I don't know where I have to go. Even that, right? So
Oh.
it was a huge I was in a very bad state at that point of time, right? So but I thought like, okay, again, we're entrepreneurs, right? We figure things out. So let's not panic. I used to say like all is well. So and, and then what I did is my first step was that I found a couple of Indians there, right? I went to them. I
Okay.
told them, hey, this is the problem. Can you help me out? Right? If you have a power bank or something with you, can you just lend it to me, and then I will do it. And they didn't have a power bank. They are also like a tourist. They came to visit the place, right? I didn't have anything, but after a point, I spoke to a couple of folks. Right, I took on a metro, and then I jumped into another place. I got a help from some Indians, and what they did is that I kind of vaguely remember the place where I have to go, the name of the place. So they put the place name. They opened in the maps and it told me where you have to go. So I used to write it down in my like a palm, right? Hey, first
Okay.
stop, get into this metro, and second stop, you have to get it in this metro. Right, I've written everything down in my hands. I used to run behind someone for pen, I had to write it down. Right, so pretty interesting thing for me. Right, I've written it down. I used to go there, but what I also understood that in Paris, right, after a point of time at night, they stops each metro, each station. Right, there are different lanes. The
Okay. Yeah.
moment I go there, they stop the service. Right, the same thing that I've written in your palm, right, doesn't work anymore.
Okay.
Keep jumping between it, and then after a point, I was in a loop. right? Then I went to a burger outlet around like 1 a.m. or something, and I told them, hey, like please help me out. Right, I'm stuck here. Right, they gave me some looks initially, but they finally agreed to help me. So they gave me the charger, which they used it for their billing machine. Right,
Oh, okay.
but mine is Android, and most of the people use iPhone, right?
Yeah.
So they took it from the billing machine, gave it to me so that I can charge my phone. I charged for 25 minutes, and then as soon as I got my internet back, I able to figure things out all by myself. Right. So that's what, right? So the interesting thing about this is that I spoke to a lot of people from different countries. Like I was in Paris, right? It's not only the French people who helped me.
Yeah.
Right? There was Bangladeshis, there were Pakistanis, there were Indians, and then there were people from South Africa, there were US guys. Right, they all helped me in reaching my destination. Right, so at last I think I still remember two Sri Lankan folks helped me
Oh,
in reaching the end destination by they were with me in the bus, and then they made sure that I reached my destination safe. Right, they're from Sri Lanka because like the conditions are not really good back then in Sri Lanka, right? So they kind
yeah.
of have to escape from Sri Lanka and then took refuge in France.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So even I had a very detailed political discussion with them, and at the end of the discussion, I asked one thing: that do you don't you feel like you want to go back to your country, right? And everyone, without exceptions, right? Everybody want to go back to their country, right? Everyone love their country. It's just that the conditions are many. It could be political, or it could be the workplace that where you work, or people around you. It could be any one of the reason that they don't really stick to their country for better life. They move to different. Like in fact, you also would have done the same thing. Like, for a better life, you come to. So imagine that you were given all the opportunity that you are getting in US and India itself. Right? Probably you would have second thought. Right? You
Yeah.
would have considered. Right? So I found this is a huge problem. One side of the things, I kind of hear people that there is no proper developer, the code quality and everything is pathetic. You can't rely on Indian developers. Other side, everybody wants to come to India. And one side, you see a lot of smart folks, like even in fact, like you, leaving India for better life, and you probably end up doing a great things there. Right, you get a US citizenship probably there, right? And
Yeah,
still, we will say you are the Indian. Right?
I don't
You
want to
become
get there.
Imagine that you become a CEO of a big company, right? You would have had a US citizenship, but still become a great CEO. And then we will still say, that point, I will say, like, hey, he's our Indian, he's our guy. We'll be proud of it, right? But certain things we could have done it for you that make you stay here, we would not have done it. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Right. We love to complain, but not do anything about it. Right. But somebody becomes successful, go and take some pieces of it. That's how it works, is what I thought. Right. So these incidents disturbed me a lot. When I came back to India, I have to take 1 or 2 months time to think, reflect, right? Okay, these are the things you have learned. Like, is there something that you can do going back to India? Is the thoughts that it was running in my mind. Right. So yeah, so that's how it started. The idea of CogniMuse, right? Initially, I started for like, solve this problem, and then later, with months' time, you understand there are different problems that you can tackle along with this. So the vision also kind of fine tunes it, right? You would
Yeah.
start with something, but it will not remain the same in the whole journey, right? It will keep becoming better with time. Right. So yeah. So that's the whole reason, as I told you, I started CogniMuse. Right. Another thing that I have observed with people is that. Uh, have you heard about this Maslow's hierarchy of
Yeah.
needs?
The Maslow's
There,
triangle. Yeah.
triangle. There is a pyramid where initially you focus on the basic needs. Without that, people
Yes.
can't do anything. Right, a basic salary would help them to start in the curve. Right, you can't
Mm-hmm.
tell somebody who don't even have enough money for the monthly. Right, tell him to travel around the world and things like that. It doesn't make sense. I used to do it earlier. You need to travel, you need to do this, explore and everything. But there, I don't have even have money. I need to think of the basic expenses and everything, right? But I also understood that uh, people, when they reach the higher order, right, self-realization state, self-actualization state, right,
Yeah.
after once you reach that state or early signs of reaching that, after that nothing excites you anymore. Right, nothing excites you. Right, so I found of realized I was reaching that state where I already solved a couple of deep intellectual problems in AI space or healthcare space. Right, so you don't have to prove anybody that you are smart. That you reached already. That's you can solve any problems at that point of time.
Yeah.
Uh, right. So nothing excited me. Like building another company, solving a tech problem or something, like it didn't excite me at all. Like so, then I thought like, okay, as I will come back to India, let's solve all this problem. Why can't I start an NGO and solve social problem at large? Is what
Hmm.
I thought. Right after spending 2 months of reflection, I thought, okay, this is something I want to do it. Then I spoke to a couple of my folks who are already working in NGO. They told very important point that like Manoj, NGO doing everything is good. Initially, it will be amazing, right? But we ourselves, we don't have enough money, right? We are always dependent on someone else to give us money so that we can do what we do the best, right? Doing something for the
Mm,
country.
yeah.
And especially you coming from a tech background, you have a grips of technology, you understand tech, you are into AI space and everything. Why can't you focus on that, do something better at it, and then you give us money and let people like us do the rest of the job, right? You trust me. And most of the people, why we don't give money to some NGOs is because we don't trust them, right? Is it
Yeah.
a legit or are they looting money from us? Something, right? But imagine your own friend is doing all this, you know him very, very long time. He's an ethical guy, right? You don't mind giving money to him, right? So that's what happened, right? They all said like, tech, go focus on tech, do something great. You can build a company with a focus on like do like social conscious company, right? You
Hmm.
can still do a great work, is what they said. I mean, this is something you also see in like a rich people, right? Once they become too rich, after a point,
Yeah.
right, they want to give it back to everything, right? For them, it's just that the fun part is that building a company and making money is fun,
Yeah.
right? They don't really want the money; just want to like take it. I don't want it anymore, right?
Yeah.
So that is the phase I was reaching it without even making any money.
Okay.
Right. I can prove the world telling that no, I will also make a lot of money. I'll spend all my time and effort into it. I'll become a huge billionaire, and then I will start doing charity work at the age of 60, 70. When I can't do much work, I'll do charity. This concept is disturbing for me. I don't really agree with the statement because I come from like strong Hindu philosophy where people treat work as worship, right? You can do the work and do a great thing with the doing something great for the society even from day one. Right. So again, this is another point that came to my mind. And then one side you traveled across countries and you identify some problem statements, and then you come here. Then India. Then there is another part of side, the spiritual or philosophical side, and that is kind of pushing you to think in direction. So I put everything in a single place and see what is something I can do it at this point of time with the skill sets that I have. Right. Okay. You have read Tata books, and Tatas have multiple things. They are there everywhere, motors and this chemical, everything there and there, but you can't do it,
Yeah.
right? You don't have money. Point number one. Point number two is that you are not a business guy in the first place, right? You are a tech guy. Right. Another big problem entrepreneurs face is that they're very good at tech. Tech guys, they're
Yeah.
engineers, they're Indians engineers, but selling business marketing, we can't do it. Right. So there are a lot of problems. I noted it down, and a couple of problems that I wanted to solve personally. And there are a couple of points what personally aligns with my philosophy as well. Okay. So
Okay.
three things, how will I mix it and come up with something is my next step. So I took another 1 to 2 months in thinking, okay, how can I solve this problem? Right. So then, right, I thought like, okay, why can't we build a company? Right. So that's called CogniMuse, right? Why can't we build this company with the intention of being social conscious company from day one?
Okay.
From day one, you have to be socially conscious. You have to allocate 10% of revenue, not profits, revenue, okay, to some social cause, or spend some time into doing some kind of social cause. It has to align with this because later part I will do social consciousness. I don't think so it will work. Okay, so this is the first step. Social conscious company. Cognimus will remain a social conscious company. Now, if you run a social conscious company, next as a business entity, how will it work? Right, this is the big problem for me. Then I thought like I need a co-founder. I spoke to a couple of co-founders, right, and everybody is like skeptical about this idea. Like they're like, hey, look, I am also social conscious guy, but business entity should be different, is what they were trying to say. But I told them I don't think so. That's true. We can still do it, but of course we couldn't work together. But again, but I still believed in the idea that we can still do this, right? But in a profitable way. Let's say if you run a company in a sustainable, profitable way, you don't have to take advice from anyone, right? As simple as this, right? So I decided that we have to run our company profitably, no matter what, sustainably, right? So that was our next focus: build a company, run sustainably, right?
Mm-hmm.
And next, what type of people you want to bring in to build this company? That was the next, like a culture that you try to build, right? So I learned a couple of good things from the West, like coming to meeting on time, and when you say you're going to get this thing done, you should get this thing done, and people don't have to come and ask you again and again and again, right? Hey, is it done, right? So these are good things I've learned from Europe. There are a couple of things that I don't want to bring it to India, because India itself has a lot of good values, right? So good Indian cultures and values plus European and work ethics and Americans speed, right? Can we bring this into CogniMuse? Is the I've understood that this is what I'm going to do, right? So, and that's how I think CogniMuse is born. To hire people, I could sit in Bangalore and do these things, right? But I will be burning a lot of money, right? So in turn, I was kind of worried that, by moving faster, will I lose whatever I want to do it? Will I be able not able to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That is what is very concerning me. So I told, okay, let me not take any money from any investors. Let me not do anything. Let me take a loan from the bank or put my own money, or there are a couple of government grants that you can apply. Government of India so generous in certain things. Right, I mean it is very slow. That I agree, but you
Yeah.
will get it. That money could be a lifeline for you to do something bigger. There is a incubator called AI Senator who are like gracious enough to give me some couple of government grants, right? So that become like an initial capital, like for the company, and put some of money into it, and then right. So I have money now. Now I can go and hire people, and I don't have to pressurize them into something better. Rather, I can take some time, spend money on training them and become better. I was in my hometown, a beautiful village called Karkala in a district called Udupi in Karnataka, right? Coastal
Oh,
side of
nice.
Karnataka. I was in. When I was in home, I mean, right? Let's say you are an engineer, you go back to hometown, right? Couple of folks who are in engineering or some other course, they think you are the smartest person because you went to NIT, right? They'll come to ask for a career advice. So what is something I should be doing next? Right. So similarly, a lot of people came to me, and what I've understood is that they are pretty clueless in what they want to do,
Okay.
like in their career. They're clueless. Forget about them. If you go to good colleges, then probably you know what to do, right? Because of a peer groups that you have, they'll push you into becoming something better. Like for example, I went to MIT. There were a group in back in 2015. We started our first company where there is a ecosystem that was pushing us to do something into the ecosystem, and you will find your friends who are also developer who can code for you. There are people who can sell things for you, right? It's easier for you to get into the ecosystem, do something there, right?
Okay.
Imagine people from tier 2 tier 3 cities, they don't have this ecosystem, and they listen to all these uncles who themselves don't figure out much in their life and ask for advice. What will they say? They will tell like, hey, go write this government exams and everything, right? My dad himself is a government servant, right? So I know I don't want to get into government servant, those space. Right? That is what they will do. I'm not saying that it's bad or something. There are some people who are good at something else, which they could have done it if they're given the resources. They didn't do it because there was no resources at that point of time.
Yeah.
Right, so I understood instead of hiring smart folks from IIT and everything, and IIT, NIT, even the MIT, my own alumni, right? Why would I, instead of hiring them, let's hire from people from tier 2, tier 3 cities who don't really have the resources, get them on board, and understand where they are good at and train them accordingly. So we are not telling that I'm looking for a UI UX or developer, right? You just like come here. Okay, you're a nice guy. Okay, cool, amazing. You have a high standard of ethical, moral, amazing things. Okay, you are ready to do whatever it takes to become better. I'm ready to do this, right? So come in. Okay, no more questions, nothing. Right, you just come in, and there are like so since I'm running a software-based company, right? We have like 8 divisions under this company. I created. You can pick anything, right? We ask questions like, okay, do you like drawing? Do you like painting and everything, right? So there is a high chance that you could be a visual person. Okay, can you learn these tools and try to do UX and see if it works for you? If it doesn't work for you, it's amazing, cool. Try something else. So this is how we started by just believing in people, by not going to resume something, just to get them on board, let them do uh, what they like to do, and see if that is something they really want to do, and pay them
Hmm.
a minimum amount of money so that their parents will not pressure them. Uh,
Okay.
right. So this was the fundamentals, right? So we got them on board, and initially I was full of josh, right? I started this company. I spoke to all possible people and got so many people on board, right? And telling them to do things. With the time, I understood that not everybody, they will tell all these things. I want to do this. I'm visionary. I'm passionate about this. UI UX. The placement period comes in, they just run away,
Yeah.
right? This is a reality case, and I'm okay with it. Like as long as you are convinced, you are happy with whatever you do, I'm absolutely okay with it. Right, so this is what happened. So tier 2 tier 3 cities spoke to a lot of people. We got a lot of great people, right? People who dropped out from college. Nobody wants to
Oh,
take a bet on them, and people like no companies want to hire them because they are introverts. They are not really good at communication skills, right? They can't crack the interview. Interview has their own set of things, right? You need to be good at communication and everything. But
yeah.
people from that, they can't do it, right? You and me, we are fortunate enough to get good knowledge, good education, and we both worked in Bangalore. We experienced the Bangalore culture, and you are in US. I went to Europe. I first time saw how things operate there, right? But same resource and knowledge, tier 2 tier 3 people don't have it.
Yeah.
So I thought this is the kind of people that I need to get on board, teach them, right? If they think like, hey, I want to learn something amazing, right? And only one person in the world can do this for them, I will try to reach out to them and get them on board so that the knowledge is transferred, right? So that you're accelerating the process of learning here, right? And they all become better. Tomorrow they become the leaders of the country. They start their own companies that do something in tier 2 tier 3 places, right? Then that is how you make India better, isn't it? Instead of going complaining about in WhatsApp, putting stories on Instagram saying that support this, support that, and everything. Initially, I used to do that as well. When I was young, right, I was like it's full of energy, right? But after a point, I realized it's not going to, it's not making any dent at all.
Yeah.
That you believe in something, you just go and do it yourself. Initially, there will be a lot of people who will say it will not work. Just stick to the process, believe in yourself, believe in God, focus on it, and make sure it works. Right, and it will work. It will work for sure. It is hard. It's not easy, but it will work. Right. Then slowly people start listening to you, and they'll come back, and then you can scale it across. Right. That's how CogniMuse is formed. So, the goal is to build a globally recognized organization
Hmm.
with building especially focused on tier 3 cities by passionate and socially conscious individuals, right? So
Okay.
that's how it
Great.
became, but through company, what are we trying to solve is that we are taking a dig at software companies who are being inefficient, so that the outside Indian people are looking down on us.
Okay.
This is a problem I'm trying to do in Cognimus, like setting the high standard for everything we do. How do you talk to clients, right? How do you build a relationship with clients? If you ask
Hmm.
for extra features or request, right? Don't be an asshole. Say like, hey, no, this is out of scope. You need to charge extra and everything. If it is something minimal and you can do it in the matter of 1 hour or something, then please go ahead and do it. Build relationship with people, right? So these are the values that we are trying to inculcate, setting up the culture so that by looking at us, if you capture the specific market segmentation of other software companies, right? They have left with no option but to improve themselves in terms of
Yeah.
every data. In this way, you can build the entire ecosystem and uplift the economy or whatever it is. You can do this. You can't just go and tell them, hey, why are you doing this? This is bad. Don't do this and everything. It doesn't work. You just focus on your journey. Keep doing same thing. You set up a high value so that in that particular people who are the clients are there, they're all coming to you. There are no other option. Other people should improve themselves. Right. Like, imagine 10 years, 15 years from now, no clients come to me, but they're going to my competitor company and they're happy with their services, and they could do the world class service, and they can compete with all around the world with a product they can build. I am happy. Right. I'll focus on
Okay.
something else. Right. That's a vision that we have and operating currently in tier 2 place. I think most of the internet issue that you have experienced from my, if it is from my end, it could be because of that. Right, there are a lot of problems. The work problems we have here.
So yeah,
So
that's amazing introduction, and I assume that you have a great vision already. You have been working. You answered a lot of my questions. I need to break that up as like, okay, this is the question I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
But the another important thing is like you talk a lot about um, social conscious. I think you defined by what social conscious is like. You want to contribute 10% of your revenue to some social cause right from the beginning, not from the profit. I think that is what it is. But
Yeah.
how did you come up with the name of CogniMuse? Like, if you can tell it a little bit, introduction on that.
Okay, cool. So, uh, nice question, right? So, does it have any relationship with whatever we are trying to build? Not direct correlation. I would say so. So, my previous company is called Marble,
Marble AI.
right? Beautiful story why we named Marble, right? So, I mean, I didn't come up with this idea. Like my previous co-founder called Suhas, like he came up with this idea. Is that so? In Renaissance time in Europe, right? You would have seen people like crafting beautiful like statues right using marbles, right? They
Okay.
take one step at a time, one chisel at a time. They keep doing this and come up with these statues which is still there, like all over the world. It's been well appreciated, right? So that's why. So we are a company. We craft our products with a lot of effort, a lot of precision.
Okay.
Is what we wanted to represent. That's why we called our previous company name Marble AI, right?
Amazing.
So when I started CogniMuse, I thought it should be an extension of that, right? Because it was a beautiful story, right? I want to carry the story and bring it into CogniMuse as well, right? So what does it represent? Initially, we started as an AI service company, then we pivoted into MVP development, whatever we are doing right now. But it was an AI company, right? So cognition related to AI, right? The musing is deep thinking. So whenever we build our AI services, or now any services for that matter, we think little deeper. We'll go 5 steps, 10 steps ahead of our competitors to build services or products and solutions for them. Right. So using deep think our service
Okay.
or solution to our clients. Right. Using our brain, right?
Amazing.
Cognition. So
So it's like
it's called
cognition
cognition.
and muse. Okay. So muse is
Yes.
like
Yeah.
thinking, cognition is like related to AI thing you built initially. Amazing.
Correct.
So I think you started with Yixan in August of 2016, and then
Yeah.
you went for entrepreneur in residence, I think in
Yeah.
2022. In between that
Yeah.
you started Marble AI,
Yeah.
so in December 2020, I guess, and
Yeah.
then you worked for the crypto, and then eventually CogniMuse, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you talk a little bit about what was entrepreneur in residence, the Nidhi EIR,
Yeah.
a little bit, so that people who are unaware, or if that's an opportunity which people can tap into, they will definitely check it out.
Yeah, sure, I would love to talk about this because it's a very it's an important fellowship, especially for Indian entrepreneurs. So it's a fellowship by central government. So they have a the pool of 3 lakh rupee dedicated for a specific entrepreneur, three to 3.5 lakhs around that money, right? So it is for
Okay.
it is for, let's say that tomorrow you want to come back to India and you want to pursue entrepreneurship, right? And you want to bootstrap the company, right? So any money is a good money if you get it from some externally and you don't have
Yeah.
to pay it. And government support entrepreneurs by coming up this fellowship. It's called NIDHI EIR, which means NIDHI is, I think, I'm not sure, national something. There's a huge name is there. So, and EIR is entrepreneur in residence, right?
Okay.
Where they give you a stipend up to 20K to 30K based on your experience every month for the period of 1 year, so that you can focus on building the company. That's about fellowship. So I've applied to the fellowship like while I was building Marble, right? So that kind of giving me good stipend on the other side, where I don't have to worry too much about my everyday expenses.
Yeah.
Right. So I would urge every Indian entrepreneurs who are planning to start their company, who already have like at least like one year experience at least, right? I mean, how it works. That you go once work for bigger company, you always wanted to start a company, but you will wait for a good time, right? So for those kind of folks, I think it's a very good fellowship. People should take under government of India, there are selected incubators around like 150 200. I don't think so my numbers are right, but to give you an approximate number, right? Through the incubators they offer this fellowship programs.
Okay, so you have to be officially tied up with an incubator?
Yeah, so there are a couple of grants money that are available through the central government, right? So this needy year fellowship programs, they don't tell you to be. I mean, once you enter the program, you are kind of associated with them because they will give you resources. How do you do business? How do you plan? They'll put you in touch with a mentor support a program. They'll have every month. You have to sit with the mentor. They'll review your progress
Okay,
and everything, right? But you will not necessarily have to register a company at that point of time. It's specifically for people who are figuring things out. Like I just have an idea before even registering a company, you want to see whether it's worth pursuing it or not, right? So they are targeting those specific audience, right? And
okay,
of course, as I told, there are a couple of government grants which supports you after this. Once you're done with fellowship program, you have your
okay,
idea ready. You have built some minimum viable products at that point of time. Now you want to scale the product. There are a couple of other grants that can help you with scaling the product as well.
okay,
So
okay.
2 to 3 years time, you can still use government grant money and still build the product to take it to some stage.
Okay, that's great. Okay, I think the readers will be pretty interested. I'll attach all of the links in the description of the video for people to check it out.
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
another thing I was checking in when I was checking about CogniMuse is that you build MVP for products in 2 to 4 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And you build MVP for products for startups and different companies.
Yeah.
So, what is the whole process? Like, how does it start? Can you give a short introduction about how the things work, how people reach out to you, or like, I think there is a proposal page where you specify your budget and all in your home screen.
Yeah.
But how does the whole thing start and it work out?
So I mean, this is another question a lot of people ask me, especially service company who are about to start service company. Like, how do you get clients in the initial stages, right? So since I'm already in this ecosystem, right, I have connections, right? So first
Okay,
set of clients it came through reference, right? And
okay,
reference is the best thing to have because they trust you as a person and then giving you the project. Right,
okay,
not like they will not ask you, "Hey, what are the things you have done it in the past? Can you show
yeah,
me a couple of things and everything?" They will not ask, right? So this is believe in you, give it to you, right? So this is how we got initial couple of claims. They know me personally, so they just gave it to me, right? So the process, I would say, they will come to me with saying that, hey, this is my idea, and you take charge. You
okay,
do what you think is the best, and then execute it, but do it faster in this time because we are planning to launch it in the couple of time. That's earlier I was more specific about we need to use this technology, we need to use this low code, no code, or we need to use this custom tools and everything. Right? But with time, I understood that this low code, no code platform is good if you're building some generic like Shopify. Like you have to build a e-commerce or something. There are a couple of templates. Right? But most of the startups nowadays, they will have some elements of custom element that has to be integrated because that is going to be their USP.
yeah,
Right. So low code platform might work to some cases, but most of the cases I see is that it doesn't work. So we have to do the old school way of doing things, right? Custom code development is what majorly we do it to create a USP for the client. So mostly we do the custom development. So they come to us, they tell this is our requirements. Earlier I used to rush things and then get into development faster, and then after a week they keep on changing the requirements. This is what used to
yeah,
happen earlier. Then we understood that it's not productive for us and also for them, right? So nowadays we take some time, like 1 or 2 days specifically for requirement gathering.
okay,
Okay, the another problem is that since they're first time entrepreneurs, right? They don't know how to do use cases for a product and everything. They just say like, I want to build this tool, build it for me. And then they will say like, no, I want to add this and everything, right? So what we do is that we go one step ahead for the client and we even do that use case analysis, different scenarios. Is this something that you want it to be an MVP, or is this something you
okay,
don't want it? It will make them think they want it in the
okay,
first place or not. Right? Again, this is where normal service company fails because service companies can't think like an entrepreneur, right? They can't think broader and come up with things like this. But since we are entrepreneur ourselves, we have built things, right? We know how they will think and come up with all the separate use cases. We ask them. We'll tell them to tick mark it, or we get on a call, ask them this is something you really wanted. I'll tell you, it's don't do go for this because it will take a delay in the development time. Launch time happens. Most of the time, people will not even use your product. You think like your product is a $1 billion idea, right? Most of the time, you launch a product, nobody will use it. Right.
Yeah.
So don't overengineer things. We'll keep it short. So 1 or 2 days we'll sit down and iterate on all these things, and we'll nail down the requirements properly. And
Hmm.
then we'll create a WhatsApp group with the founders, and we'll give updates every day. Hey, this is what happening, and we'll keep giving them something. For that, they will give that satisfaction that they're also part of development process. Right. So other service companies that I've come across, they just give you something. After that, 1 week there is nothing from them, and then they give you something, and then you see it, and they say like, "Hey, this is not something I wanted to do. It's something else." Right. So early on, we try to get the feedback from the founders as soon as possible, so that we can course correct it, and so that we can deliver things within that time. Right. So there are some instances where could even do it in in the matter of less than 1 week time, building
Oh,
MVPs, especially when you know the founders very well, right? You know the person, he just completely trusts in you. Whatever you say, he believes in you. If you have upper hand, we can build things much faster. There are other side where you don't know them really well, right? They ask a lot of questions. You need to convince them. Right, they're first time again. They're first time entrepreneurs, right? They don't know many things. They still think like, no, my product when I launch it, 1,000 people will sign up, but they start will pay for the product, right? Convincing them is very hard. So at that
yeah.
point of time, talking and everything, right? It is what delays the process of development rather than the
Hmm.
development itself, right? So that's what. So 2 to 4 weeks, whatever I said is optimal number. Most of the use cases can be covered in that time. But
Okay.
again, there are some visionary entrepreneurs who really believe in the product, and they will say like, no, I believe in this product. The moment I launch it, it will work, right? So for them, it will take more than this time because they will
Okay.
have a lot of complicated features.
Requirements.
Right? Yeah, right. I mean, like some founders who are already in the niche who know exactly what to be built.
Okay.
Right. So for them, it takes like more time for development because they're looking for scalability point of things as well. So we set up the base for scalability as well at that point in time.
Okay.
But most of the use cases 2 to 4 weeks, but some cases will definitely go more than this for specific post cases with a lot of features and complicated functionalities.
Okay. Great. So you just build the MVP, or you build out the later features as well with them?
Cool. It's interesting questions, right? Because people do ask these questions like, "Hey, most of the people come to me and asking me nowadays, like, hey, look, we really enjoyed working with you guys. Like, I want you guys to be the extended team where we can build things, right? Uh, okay, there are pros and cons to this approach, right? Right? Where I wanted to, the problem I'm trying to solve is that software companies, especially founders, early on they shouldn't fail due to tech, right? Because when you build a company, there are 100 problems that is waiting for you, right? And tech is one of the problem, and it's a major problem, right?
Yeah.
Under tech, you will have a hiring problem, managing people. Management itself is again another problem, right? Understanding people is the toughest problem the world has ever seen, right? Forget about AI and everything. Right? People still in the top, right? So I'm trying
Yeah.
to solve specific problems in the early stages for them, so that we help people to raise more money or build their own team. Because as an entrepreneur, no matter what, you should learn building a tech team at some point of time in your career, right? So you have to learn. There is no way you can outsource this thing to someone else. You can't do it,
Yeah.
right? I've outsourced it. I will learn hard way that, oh, no, it's not possible. Right. So you as a founder, you have to do a couple of roles specifically, like a tech. There should be some guy who has to know tech, who has to do tech. Right. Business sales guy has to be there. Right. So similarly, early stage, I'm trying to de-risking this, spending a lot of time, energy, motivation, right, everything in that particular time. So after a point, I would suggest them to build their own team themselves,
Okay.
to actually walk through the path of entrepreneurship and learn everything, because that's what will make them an entrepreneur. So at this point of time, we are not supporting. Right, our team
Yeah.
is very small as well, right? So we can't take more pressure,
Yeah. I
right?
was also
So
thinking that, like, how do
yeah,
you manage that? Because when you said you're hiring from tier two, tier three cities, you'll face a lot of problem, because if you support big projects longer
yeah.
time, then you have to have a bigger team as well. Okay,
True.
that's interesting.
But that is there in the pipeline, but I'm not doing it now. Right? But that is there in the pipeline where, like this fractional CTOs and everything that's coming in, right?
Yeah.
Probably we can do that kind of specific role, where we can help them with hiring and things like that. But we will do this only when the team is relatively bigger. I'm right now focus on core vision, set the culture right, and
Okay.
setting up systems in such a way that it will work on its own. Right. Once that is done, we can focus on. Again, I told you, right? This is not this is a starting point. Right? We come after each and every segment, every sector in India, and try to bring a revolution each and everything.
Great,
Right.
great. I'm looking forward to it. So great. I wish you all the luck for it. Awesome.
Thank you.
So the next thing I was concerned about is like when you said you're hiring from tier 2, 3 cities. How do you find talent? What is the way people to work with you? Not
Okay. So
clients, but yeah, developers.
so this is the part where why people don't want to do this, even if they don't want to do it in tier to tier. Why they don't do it is because of this problem. It's extremely hard to identify that couple of folks who are actually passionate and also socially conscious. Extremely hard, right? So as I told you earlier, initially I thought it's going to be not that hard because imagine this, right? So if you want to hire somebody, you put a post on LinkedIn, right? You will get so
Yeah.
much of requests from all over the place, right? But we are even talking about these tier 2, tier 3 folks who don't even actively use LinkedIn,
Yeah.
right? They don't even know that you can apply through LinkedIn, right? So how do you penetrate this market is always a problem for things. So how I solved is that so I incubated I told you in AIC in Nite, in a place called Karla. I incubated here, and there was another company called Experiment Labs who also run by a similar founder with a similar vision, right? So this guy spent almost like 5 6 years spending a lot of time in this route, a native called Sirsi in Karnataka, where he's building a smart pool of talent. So he
Okay.
eliminated so many people and built a team. And the same team now is in this incubation working. Right. So I went to him and asked, like, hey, do you have any reference that I can take and I can start my journey from? Right.
Okay.
So through this, I got my first set of folks, right?
Okay.
So the goal here is to that you don't have to like sweat it out, sweat a lot, spend 2 3 years finding those skills. No, not like that. You can be as smart like this, right? Look at this kind of cluster. Like now you know me, right? I will know
Yeah.
some of the folks, right? They will know some of the other folks as well, right? Look for somebody who's already doing this, and if he is smart enough to do something like this in tier 2 tier 3, I'm pretty sure he will be in touch with a couple of smart folks as well.
Yeah.
Right? So he's building a hardware company, right? So he didn't want any software folks for him, and he had in his database he had a couple of folks who had done some kind of software, not too much,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And I'm okay with that. I want some level so that from there I can start their journey from, right? So I took them like that, and then and his friends through reference
Okay.
is how I got a lot of people. But before I got these folks, I took up the longer approach where I put it out into the colleges, right? We got a request from a lot of colleges. We got like 50, 60, 100 applicants from colleges. So I
Oh,
carefully went through each applications because I don't want to reject them just by applications, right? Give them everybody a fair chance, right? Give
okay.
them a fair chance by asking a couple of questions. It's not technical, but general questions. Like if there is somebody on the street suffering, right? How would you approach this problem? Would you go and help them, or you just tell them like, yeah, why would I help them? These kind of basically things. I was eliminating people like this, right? But even after eliminating, we got couple of folks. But what I've understood is that they're very much confused in life, right? Too much of oscillation. They say that hey, I'm socially I want to do something great for the country, but in real, they didn't really wanted it, right? They just wanted the job, right? So I had to do a lot of trial and error earlier, but now I think I've learned my way not to do that and identify good people and smart people easily and faster. Right? So
Okay.
it's all comes through experience, but yeah, go to
So the
somebody, yeah, who already done it. Okay, ask him. Probably he will give you some names which has the highest rate of conversion. You're ready,
okay.
like it's all probability, right? Reducing the uncertainty as much as possible, right? Yeah, that's how I find people nowadays.
Okay. The power of network and
Yeah,
filtering
true,
out with time.
true,
Awesome.
true, true.
How big is your team right now?
So currently we are, I would say, 10-member team. So five full-time members working on it, and five interns part-time, based on the if there is a requirement or something they come in. And then like apart from that, we have some consultant who have like 25 years of experience in tech.
Oh, nice.
Like a very specific niche industry experts who are already working for bigger companies, but they're so bored, right? They're not getting intellectually stimulating problems to solve. Those type of
Okay,
people on part-time basis, like hourly basis, they come and help the team in accelerating things faster.
great. Okay, I think you covered a lot about healthcare and Medicare because of your background
Yeah.
in as a biomedical engineer, right?
Yeah.
So you talked about AI. So are you working on the intersection of AI and Medicare in some of the problems as well?
Wow. Cool. So it's an interesting thing that you asked me. We are doing something in those lines because what we understood is that like okay, I am not worried about service company I'm building, a product company I'm building, right? I'm worried about getting this philosophy ingrained into people so that as a country we become better.
Okay.
Right. So service company is all about hustling, running behind each client, finishing things on time. So more of an operation and management intense task. Right. We are already in the plans of building a product in healthcare space, deep tech healthcare space, at the
Okay.
intersection of hardware, AI, and software. Right.
Oh,
There is software, AI, and hardware. So we are already working on it. Since
awesome.
already in this space, right? I don't want to rush things and build things faster because usually in the product company, what happens to make revenue, right? It takes like if it's a SaaS company, it takes some amount of months to reach a place where you make money, right? Healthcare, it will take I would say probably 4 to 5 years before you could actually make money. Right.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
have a couple of ideas. I'm working with a couple of few top institution hospitals in the country. I'm working with the top doctors in
Oh, nice.
validating my problem statements and iterating it so that the moment you start it flawlessly it goes forward. You start something 6 months down the lane, you shouldn't think like, hey, this is not a problem worth solving and everything, right? So parallelly we are doing it in the plans of building a India as an R&D focused product companies as well, right? That is in the pipeline. Parallelly, I spend almost 10% of my time like talking to people, doing customer interviews, talking to doctors.
Okay,
This is what I'm
great.
doing on this.
Okay,
Yeah.
coming back to the
Yeah.
meat of your company, the revenue. So, what is the source of revenue? Is it all the projects that you're taking up, or do you have other sources of revenue as well running a company?
No, so it's all coming from the money that you get from claims. Like that's it, right? So my goal is to not focused on making a ton, like a shitload of money, nothing like that. My goal is to can we build a sustainable company where you don't have to worry about the basic money, right? Everyday needs. You don't have to worry about it, so that you can like aim higher. Right, so it's all through revenue from the projects it's a very old school type of doing a business, right? How
Yeah, but
our
I
uncle,
think it's good because
yeah.
you don't have to worry about selling a product. You are getting paid to build the product first. So you are like having the revenue from the day one itself while building a product. That's a great idea. So you don't have to like
But
have to worry about.
I will not lie telling that we had a revenue from day one. Rather, I would say we had revenue probably after 4 or 5 months of building the company, I would say. Right. Even then, right, I had certain minimum expectation I set for the team. Only when
Okay.
you reach there, that's when I talk to clients and get clients.
Okay. Okay.
Right. Otherwise, what happens if you don't do that minimum, right? We'll become another service company with no quality, right? Then there is no difference. That's not what we wanted to build in the first place, right? Minimum time we need to get it. At the same time, we are spending like burning cash in like making these people who hired becoming better.
Okay.
Like, I mean, you're hiring people who have never done any coding before, right? So it takes this time to become better, right, for them. So I
Yeah.
would say ideally it would take almost 6 to 8 months time for them to become great at it. I would say great, not good, great at it. Right?
Okay.
For 3 months, 3 months you'll get good at it, whatever you do.
Yeah.
If you really want to become good at it and great at it, by the way, that is a different. There are some folks we hired after 3 months also no improvement. Then you understand that hey, the motivation itself is not there.
Yeah.
Right? That exceptions you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it's through revenue. We are self-sustaining. Our business is self-sustaining at this point of time. Yeah.
Okay, it was great talking to you. So I have one last question before we end this discussion. So any specific advice you want to give to people who are building company or who want to be in certain spaces where they focus on quality, build for Bharat and all stuff? Please feel free.
Yeah, so building a company, it all depends on what type of company that you're going to build, right? So I was always been a product guy, right? So
Okay.
I've experienced building a product company. So service building company is even the first time, like for me, right? Again, like I've also burnt my hands initial stages, right? I've sent some quotations, and the client called me. I'm like, hey, this is ridiculous. They're like, this is bad. This is not how it is done. Do you guys even know how to do all these things? Right? But I'm glad that all these things happened in the initial days itself.
Yeah.
Right? I started the company 15 days. This happened. Right? We so actively listen to your customers, learn from them, learn from people, learn good things from people. Like sometimes some people are not really ambitious, right? They might say that,
Yeah.
hey, look, this will not work out, that will not work out. There are certain things you should have your own conviction. There are certain things it's good to listen to someone else, people who are experienced in this domain, and ask them. And but don't follow it. Right? You keep the data in one place and you do whatever you're going to do it anyways, right? And see, while you're doing it is heading in a direction where whatever he said is actually mapping or not. If it
Okay.
is mapping, right, then immediately course correct it,
Okay.
rather than
Okay.
believing something blindly and then doing it, right? Probably he might be also wrong, we never know. It's all context and context based, right? The example based, like whatever use cases I tell, somebody might do the same thing just by putting a LinkedIn post, still he might get a title to the amazing fellow, right? It might happen. How
Yeah.
mind getting, right, just by LinkedIn post is getting some smart folks who tie to type cities as well, right?
Yeah.
It did
Yeah.
just didn't work out for me, right? So it is all context based, right? So get that knowledge, whatever he thinks is right. Keep the data in mind. So whenever you are going in off the tangent, right, take the data, map it, and then code correct it, rather than just believing it or thinking like, no, I am right, I will not listen to anybody. Right, both are bad, right? Especially first time founders, they'll be more arrogant. Right? They know what to do. I mean, why I'm telling, because I was arrogant myself, right?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I was building a tech, right? I do my own research from the internet and I go to argue with a client, not client, sorry, intern, saying that this is the best tech stack available in the world. You need to get this. Interns who was doing all those things for past 6 months, they know that no, you can go with something simple and still can get the job done, right? I used to fight with them, saying like, no, 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 you guys don't know, you guys don't have credentials, right? I also learned from your mistake that what are the things you shouldn't be doing it, right? So that's what you should listen to people. It could be an intern, it could be your own friends, it could be sometimes your own parents, right? They think best for
Yeah.
you, right? So listen to them, but don't follow it. Keep it in the brain, as I told you, right? Make sure when to follow, when not to follow, right? These things you should be very, very, very clear about it. Right, this is something I would tell for the first time founders and people who are tech guys building a company. I would tell them to focus on business and sales, marketing, and everything, because this
Okay.
is something we will not do it, right? I'll give you an example, right? So I'm not a I'm not an extrovert at all, right? I'm like, I'm comfortable with my own set of people. I'll be like, we'll have a lot of intellectual discussion in that small group of community where we
Mm-hmm.
take a dig at all the people outside this community. Look at this guy, look at this marketing guy, who don't even have any kind of knowledge, but still makes a hell lot of money. Right? We are
Okay.
smart folks. Like we should be doing this, and everything, right? But after a point, as an intellectual fellows, right, we have this inherent tendency that we are so comfortable in the intellectual zone that we normally don't try to do something which is not comfortable for us. For example, talking to people, right?
Yeah.
Intellectual people's, right? They don't really like talking to people because they think like, hey, I'm too smart, you're too dumb for me to talk to, right? That's how they are. This thing they should come out of it, this specific thing, right? But at the end of the day, they're going to pay for your product, right? So you
Yeah.
should treat them like God. Talk to them, spend good amount of time. Don't think they're stupid or something. No, not nothing like that. Everybody is smart in their own ways. Everybody is stupid in their own ways. Right. So the power of marketing is very, very important. One example is that I put the story in LinkedIn, and that's how you got me.
Yeah.
Right. So Mayank put a story in LinkedIn. That's how I messaged him. That's how I got my angel capital. Right.
Yeah.
So now we are having a conversation. Now I have a new friend. I made a new friend from US. Right. So this is the power of marketing. Right. You do a good services. Like you should go and speak about it. Earlier, I was against speaking about, thinking like, no, if you have good service, people will come to you. Uh, yes, people used to come to you when there is no channel of social media, when everything was happening through referral network. Probably it worked,
Yeah.
Right. Still, that is the top one method of getting clients, retaining clients. I will not deny with the fundamentals. But now the
Yeah.
things are changing, right? And new people
Yeah.
are coming in. They don't really know. And you, as a good service company, if you don't put out your services openly and talk about it, someone else with a bad services, he has a good marketing team and PR team. If they do it, right, again it creates a imbalance in the Indian software development ecosystem, right? That's why
Yeah.
even though I'm not a marketing sales business guy, I'm coming and doing all these things, even though I don't like it at all, right? Because certain things
Yeah.
has to be done, right? Boring things, but still it had to
Yeah,
be done.
yeah, 100%. I think you are doing amazing job, and I think as a founder, you have to do the boring part. That's how you'll make a company successful. And
True,
yeah,
true.
that's all. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's what yeah, Sitesh, I have some few questions for you as well.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
If
Go
if
ahead.
I ask, is that what was your decision behind moving to US?